For centuries, artists have been trying to capture the essence of the human face. It seems so complex, right? But what if I told you there's a simple blueprint, a secret that masters have used for ages to get that perfect balance? Well, let's dive in and uncover it.
It really all comes down to one question. How do you give structure to something as organic and alive as the human face? How do you make it feel real? The answer, believe it or not, is surprisingly simple.
You see, all that perceived complexity of the face, it's actually built on a really logical, simple foundation. We're about to break that down and reveal the hidden grid that holds everything together. And I promise this is going to change the way you look at faces forever.
And there it is, a simple grid of 6 squares, 2 across, 3 down. That's it. This geometric overlay, as soon as you see it, it just instantly brings a sense of order to the portrait. This is our foundational map. So how do we actually build it? It's really easy. First, you take the height of the face. We're talking from the hairline all the way down to the chin. And you just divide it into 3 equal horizontal sections. Then you find that vertical center line and slice the front of the face right in 2. Boom! Just like that, you've got your 6 foundational squares. Okay, now for the fun part. With our blueprint in place, we can actually start placing the features with some real precision. We're going to work our way down from the top, tier by tier, using this grid as our guide to build a perfectly proportioned face.
Let's start with those top 2 squares. This whole section is all about defining the forehead and the hairline. It creates that broad plane that really frames the rest of the face. Now, the placement here has to be exact. The very top of our grid, that's your hairline. The entire space inside these top 2 squares, that's the forehead. And that bottom line of this section, that's where the eyebrows sit. It's the perfect divider between the top and middle thirds.
All right, let's move down to the middle 2 squares, this central zone. This is the most complex area, and it's got the features that are absolutely critical for capturing a person's identity and likeness.
So inside this middle tier, the eyes are going to be centered horizontally, each one in its own square. The bridge of the nose, it follows that central vertical line right down the middle. And the very bottom of this section is the anchor point for the entire nose structure. Now, this is a super important point. The grid is all about structure, right? So the base of the nose, we're talking about where it actually connects to the face. That sits right on the bottom line of the middle third. The tip of the nose, yeah, it might hang a little bit lower, but that structural anchor point is what really matters for the grid. And finally, we've got the bottom 2 squares. This section defines the entire lower part of the face, everything from the expression of the mouth to the solid foundation of the jaw and chin. The rules down here are crystal clear. The mouth is located entirely within this bottom third. Then the lower half of these squares is dominated by the curve of the jawline, leading right down to the chin, which marks the absolute bottom boundary of our whole grid. Okay, so now that we know what fits inside the grid, it's just as important to understand what doesn't. You have to remember, this technique is specifically for the frontal plane of the face. Other features, well, they play by their own rules. This little chart really lays it out. The forehead, eyes, nose, and mouth. They're all perfectly mapped by our 6 squares. But features on the side of the head, like the ears, for instance, they exist outside of this grid. The 6 squares are all about defining the front of the face, and only the front. So you might be thinking, is this just a rigid formula? Not at all. The best way to think of it is as a foundation. This code isn't meant to be a limitation. It's the launching point for true artistic expression. Let's just look at that portrait with the grid one last time. You see that harmony, that perfect balance? It comes directly from this simple underlying structure. This is the hidden architecture of beauty. But here's the real goal. The goal is to internalize the structure so completely that you don't even need it anymore. You see, mastering the code is what gives you the creative freedom to then bend the rules, to exaggerate, to capture not just a likeness, but a real personality. So the blueprint is no longer hidden. You now have the key to unlocking the proportions of the human face. And that leaves us with only one question left, and it's the most exciting one of all. Now that you see the code, what will you create?